Now, you're one of the few banks that have refused this committee's request to pause closures. The other two that we've heard from this morning have done so. You've closed 30 branches, announced or closed 30 branches since this committee was formed. Why are you acting in this way and continuing to close down branches right across rural and regional Australia while other banks are pausing and taking a look at what they're doing?
Look, we did give consideration to whether that was the right thing to do for our colleagues, customers and the bank itself when the committee requested we do so. I've been involved in many countries where the same issues have been put forward and had moratoriums on branch closures on many areas, be that in New Zealand or any part of the UK. And the answer to that at the end of the day is those branch closures happen as soon as the moratorium's taken off. And my view was we should just continue to do the right thing with our business, making the decisions we need to make based around what customers are doing. So I know I was the only one, and it just shows that there is competition in the marketplace. And we are also making, Senator, major investments into the...
I think the issue here is that these services being pulled out in this way, and I believe they've been done quite cynically over the past year because the Code of Banking Practice was updated to take effect this financial year, and there's all these spate of closures announced last financial year before those came into place. So we really have to consider now what the government does in response. What do you have any thoughts on the suggestion that the Australian government seek to fund, and I think we should fund it from some kind of levy on the big banks, fund services in the bush where you are taking those out, be that through an expanded Australia Post, be it through a government bank, be it through the funding of community banks? How would you think that would? What do you think of that particular policy idea that is coming to us from every corner of this country?
Well, we are contributing to that policy by supporting a government entity called Australian Post significantly with a 10-year commercial contract that actually helps those services stay in place in a very good way in much, much greater areas than we have ever been in the regional communities. And I go back to my opening statements. We are in 3 times as many towns now than we have ever been, Senator, given the Australian Post services that are now provided.
Well, Mr McEwan, I think you might need to visit some of these locations where your branches have left, because they do not think the Australia Post is a substitute for your services. Absolutely not at all. I take your point that there are more of them now. That's a great thing. With technology is a great thing. That's created opportunities. But for those towns that did have a bank and now no longer have a bank, the Australia Post is the current service offerings of Australia Post are no substitute. So the suggestion that you're saying they are, I think, shows you a little bit out of touch with what people are thinking in rural Australia.